that's needed.
Wow.
And I think it's real important.
It's kind of blanket over life, isn't it? I mean,
exactly.
Really. But we have Sherry on the line, Phil. Sherry, thanks for calling in.
First of all, I just want to say that, I do have the most high respect for officers. I realize that our community could not survive without officers. I mean, we just would be really out of control. But, it's been a lot of heartbreaking and distress within myself and my family with everything that has been going on between just the injustice of African-American men and the police officers. Because at the end of the day, hatred we need to do away with it. And both of my children have been profiled by an officer, and I am a black woman, and it didn't sit very well. And I witnessed it. I was in the background and witnessed it. So when you experience something like that, it's very heartfelt, and it just hurts because you know that it was wrongdoing. You sit there and witness it. But what I want to say to you is you touched on something that was so profound that I wanted to comment on. You said that there was very few, when you see these videos and things of, I guess, that handful of officers that do things that are unjust, that's the same thing that we feel as black people when we're put all in the same basket. All black people are not the same, and just like all police officers are not the same. So when you're put in a category where when you walk in a store or you on the street and you get the same treatment as everybody and for no reason, it's not a good feeling. So I understand when you say that to put the good cops in a category with people that have done things that were wrong. I can totally agree with that because it's not a good feeling, and that's what the black community is feeling now. You cannot put everybody in the same category. It's just not a good feeling.
Okay, Sherry.
So when you said that was right on point. You can't do that. When we walk in a store and get profiled just because of what we look like, it's not fair. Just like if somebody starts shooting police officers because of a mistake that another one made, it's unfair. So we have to overcome this, and God be the glory that he can change this, because my heart grieves for the officers that have been killed as opposed to the young men that were killed. None of it's right. And I just pray to God that you all will stay protected. And if you're with the cops, that you ride with one and they say hatred things, don't laugh at it. Take that stuff seriously, because it is serious. That's a person's character.
Sherry, we're going to a break, sweetheart. Thank you for your call, and we'll let Phil respond to that when we get back. 571-2428. We're also going to talk about the proper protocol if you are approached by an officer today before we end. Don't go away. There's more on Just Ask Joyce.
WFIA, The Spirit.
Hi, this is Steve Arterman. Join us for New Life Live each weekday. Real people, real issues, and real answers.
I appreciate your ministry.
Really love your show.
How do I respond to him right now?
You ungrateful jerk. Do you know what it's been like to be married to you all these years? And all I ask for is one little cruise.
I don't know that one.
Well, come on, I'm being a good shrink here. I'm supposed to say, so what do you think about that?
Even though it may be a shameful thing for them, she is not a shameful person.
New Life Live, weekday afternoons at 1 on WFIA, The Spirit.
Now that the weather has been more conducive to opening the windows, I'm reminded of how much I love my Window World windows. With the greatest of ease, I gently lift and ta-da, my windows are open. With my other model windows, I had to push and bang and struggle, and sometimes had to wait on the hubby to open them for me. But not anymore. Oh, and did I mention they're beautiful? I'll stand by that guaranteed. Call Window World today, 502-671-7777. That's 671-7777. And visit them online at windowworldlouisville.com.
By now, everyone knows Class Act Credit Union offers some of the very best rates on auto loans, but the savings go way beyond low interest rates. Many lenders charge application fees, credit fees, and prepayment penalties, but not at Class Act, and you'll save even more on related products like GAP and extended warranty policies. Best of all, you'll get personal service from friendly, knowledgeable people. Ready for a new car? Apply online at ClassAct.org today. Class Act Federal Credit Union. It's like straight A's for your money.
Tostine Eye Center is one of Louisville's leading eye surgery, research, and eye care practice. Over the past 30 years, Tostine Eye Center has been a leader in adopting new procedures for advanced diagnosis and treatment of eye diseases and disorders. Today, Tostine Eye Center offers the most up-to-date technologies available to treat cataracts, glaucoma, diabetic retinopathy, and macular degeneration. With the latest in technology and good old-fashioned patient care, you will truly see the difference in our practice. The Tostine Eye Center also specializes in laser vision correction for nearsightedness, farsightedness, and astigmatism. As we look to the future, one thing will remain the same: the commitment to personal care, honesty, and integrity. You'll receive the best care available at the Tostine Eye Center. Call the Tostine Eye Center today at 458-9004. That's 458-9004, or online at TostineEyeCenter.com.
Today in Kentucky, there are over 8,000 children in need of strong, supportive parents to help them thrive and achieve their full potential. Children in foster care want what all children deserve: a supportive and nurturing family. Would you help at least one child? SAFI equips single and dual parents with a broad range of resources to help children feel safe, loved, and supported. Contact SAFI of Kentucky today at 502-813-8280 or online at safy.org to learn to be an agent of hope, a foster parent.
You're listening to Just Ask Joyce on WFIA, The Spirit.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We have Officer Phil Russell with us, and he is with the LMPD. And we had Sherry that called in, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to respond to Sherry because, and I don't know that she really asked us a question, but I feel like, you need to.
Sure. I mean, and I appreciate her call, and she brings up exactly what I was saying earlier, which is there are issues that we cannot invalidate. In fact, we need to validate and say these are very real issues that many African Americans have experienced and have experienced with police officers. The hard part, for me, or the easier part, and one way or the other, is that that's not me. That's not my experience. Right. I would always argue that any of my stops in 22 years have not been as a result of racial profiling. And there may be somebody on the other end that would say, no, actually, I felt like you had profiled me. And so we still need to come back and say, look, we want to make sure that we are validating the concerns of everyone in our communities. And those are real concerns. And those are concerns that go beyond just police. Those are concerns that are, just as she said, with the clerks and the store shopkeepers and, teachers and doctors and nurses. I mean, look, it is a very much what we go back to is a moral issue and a sin issue.
That's how we started, wasn't it?
So when racism is obviously very much a moral issue, that's why we need moral officers. And I think that I can only vouch for what we do at LMPD and the hiring standards and say we make every attempt to scrutinize that well before and weed that out well before anyone is hired. And so and we train. In fact, we even last year had all officers trained in what we would talk about the 21st century policing protocols put forth from the White House, which were actually very good because it just was a reminder that you have to talk to people and give them a reason why they were stopped, because there are many people in communities that are going to assume that you just stopped them because of race. And that we may have a valid point, but at the same time, if you don't have a valid point, then absolutely you should not be stopping just because of race, because that is illegal. We trained all our officers in 21st century protocols, what we call police legitimacy, which is building trust in the communities to make sure that people feel confident that what we're doing is within the law. The other side is we had all officers have body cameras. That was something that everybody had called on because you could have kind of an immediate recording of that interaction to ensure that we were treating people with respect, and we've seen complaints on our officers at LMPD plummet. I mean, go way down, which is great. I'd like to say that's because those were false complaints, while many people would say, those were because the officers are now, or that is because the officers are now hold a lot more accountable. Either way, the good news is we're seeing less complaints and have gone down. So I hear Sherry and I say, you know what, that absolutely, I'm sorry that happened to her and her sons. I hope that they have positive interactions, and we're recognizing that we want to do whatever we can to have those positive interactions, so that those are few and far between. But I think it's, again, it just validates the issue that many are feeling. Mm-hmm. I think that just goes beyond what we're doing in the police department, and we need to look at our criminal justice system and make sure that that's being done fairly, and that we are keeping violent criminals in prison until they have truly been rehabilitated and can function back in society without committing further acts of violence. And we need to make sure that we're not just have a revolving door in a criminal justice system. So unfortunately, just like in real life, that oftentimes you call the police for every problem because there's no one else to call. We're kind of at the, blame us for every problem because we can't quite figure out where to point the finger of blame.
And for low pay. I just have to say that we really expect you to do extraordinary things at an less than ordinary wage. And, so we appreciate what you guys do, because it's certainly not the money that attracts you. It isn't. And, I've never understood that, how teachers and our protectors, our troops and our law enforcement are the least paid. And, they're probably the most important people in our society. They really are. But, okay, I promised people that we were going to talk about what you should be ready for when an officer approaches your car. And this, honestly, Phil, this comes as a result of the Philando Castile guy that was shot, and of course his wife videos as he's dying. I'm not sure she got everything that led up to that, but because from what I understand, he was reaching in his pocket for something. Now, why didn't he know? Because I've been stopped by you guys. I'm sorry, I have a little bit of a lead foot, so I have been stopped, but I know that I'm supposed to have certain things ready by the time you get there to my car. And it takes you a while to get there because you're checking out my license plate and you're running little things on your computer in the car. And so it takes a moment for you to approach my car typically. And so, tell us, we don't have to go here because I don't know. We don't know why all that happened, but tell us what we are supposed to have. What's the protocol for me? Should you stop me? What do I need to have ready and waiting for you when you approach my car? Well, and what am I not supposed to do?
Yeah, there's certain. I'm always afraid to answer this in some ways because it can almost seem very ambivalent, as though, well, when the police officer comes up, just comply, and that's an easy way to answer that, but it is not received always in the way that I mean for it to be. But it's recognize that any interaction with someone in authority, and they, we have, and again, it's easy for me to say this, is that in that position of authority, but we've always, I was raised that you respect authority, whether it's, another adult, mm-hmm. friend's parent, or whether it's teacher, whomever, that you are obliging that. We've also seen for the last 20, 30 years that the bumper sticker of question authority. So I think that the contradiction there is, if you are taught to question authority, mm-hmm. Then inevitably it's going to heighten kind of the intensity level of that stop. So, there are ways to handle it. If it's a citation and you think that you didn't, weren't justified in receiving that, then you have ways to counter that in the court system. You can always complain to supervisors if you feel like you were unfairly treated, and we have many ways within our website for people to instruct them to do that. So what we're trying to teach young people now is to you can be respectful, mm-hmm. Respect first, and question later is what we say. And so just be compliant, do what is asked, be respectful, and provide them the answers of what they need, as long as they're not asking something that's illegal of you or violating your constitutional rights. But make sure you know what that is. And I think if you respect and comply, and then you felt like you're unfairly treated, you can question later through courts. You can do that through talking to your supervisor or file a formal complaint. And so really those interactions, we always say, look, especially if it becomes physical altercation, there is a gun involved. And and you have to understand that can get very messy very quickly. So just deal with it at that moment as best you can. If you can record it, fine. If you need to call another witness over, then fine. But for the most part, just do what's asked of you, and do it very slowly, and just again respectfully. And I think that when you do that, even if you didn't have your license, didn't have all that ready, you can at least say, "Here's what we've got." Thank you.
All right, we'll be back.
The Spirit.
Hi, this is Chip Ingram.
Hi, I'm Chuck Swindoll.
This is Steve Arterburn. Congratulations, Louisville. For 50 years, you've been blessed with a radio station in your community that has helped spread the good news of the gospel and help bring new followers to Jesus Christ.
We're so proud to be a part of such a historic milestone.
From all of us, a very sincere happy anniversary.
Thanks for listening to Louisville's Christian Talk and Teaching Station. Now 50 years on the air. We're WFIA, The Spirit.
Do you have a family member who's getting older and can no longer be safely left alone? With Visiting Angels America's Choice in Senior Home Care, your parents and older family members can continue living at home and not have to move into a nursing home. Experienced, compassionate caregivers provide assistance in hygiene, meal preparation, and light housework up to 24 hours per day at affordable rates. To restore your family's peace of mind, call Visiting Angels toll-free today at 877-374-LIVE or at visitingangels.com.
Shakes and Scallops, roofing, shutters and gutters, soffit and fascia, vinyl sidings, doors, and yes, windows. Along with their attractive merchandise and professional installation, they also have an incredible peace of mind lifetime warranty. Yep, from the date of installation, Window World will be there to service any defects in material or workmanship. Now that's the kind of people I love to deal with. Call Window World today at 502-671-7777, 671-7777, and visit their website at windowworldlouisville.com.
There is a radio station on the air right now where you can take your family and not be embarrassed. Where you can find hope when things seem the darkest. Where you can understand life's challenges and what to do about them. This is that radio station. We are WFIA, The Spirit. And now we're available live online and on your mobile app at ChristianRadio.com. And the good news is we're in good company. Only stations like ours are invited in. Join us now online and on your mobile app at ChristianRadio.com. You're listening to Just Ask Joyce on WFIA, The Spirit.
And real quickly, we have Debbie on the line. Hi, Debbie.
Hello, Joyce. Hello, Officer Russell.
Hi there.
I just want to know real quick, concealed carry, that's probably different in every state, but in the state of Kentucky, what I understood was to make sure that if you are concealed carry, if an officer pulls you over, then you should immediately tell him that you do have a weapon in your car.
Yeah,
is that correct?
That's what is advised for most everybody. You're not required by law to do that. And just because an officer pulls you over doesn't mean he has a right to search your car.
Okay.
And I think prior to the search, however, that's just good protocol. I mean, it just makes sense. And I can just say from my experience, there have been times where people say, "Hey, I do have a weapon," and all I'm wanting to do is just either tell them to slow down or don't run that stop sign or write them a ticket. And we've never even had that issue. It does cause me, to watch a lot more closely. Although what officers should be doing is paying attention to that in advance. I think it's just a matter of the situations and what you feel is appropriate at the time.
All right. Thanks, darling.
I just wanted to make sure because all that ugliness was over concealed carry, and it was very scary.
Right,
it was.
To see that unfold, and
I'm a
little old lady with gray hair, so I don't. I think might be even. You might even look at me a little differently just because of being a female and the gray hair and all that stuff. But
I don't think he sees any.
I would want you to know
pretty much right on spot that I did have that weapon.
Yeah, I think that's good protocol. One thing we train officers early on in the police academy, and when the very first week, because we want their hearts and minds to be in it, is to understand what officers have been killed in the line of duty experienced. And so you see all sorts of videos over and over and over of officers being assaulted and killed. And in many of those videos, it didn't it was not a matter of race or gender or age, because you'd see a little old lady pull out a gun, you'd see an old man come out with an assault rifle, you'd see young children. It is awful. So it was the idea was to do exactly what we're talking about, that we make sure that you see the threat, that these biases or anything that you have ever had need to go out the window, because you cannot just let your guard down just because it's a little old lady.
All right. Well, Debbie, thank you. I've got another Debbie waiting for an answer too. Hi, Debbie.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call. I had seen several different videos on this issue where you carry a gun, but in the videos they explain that you don't actually say that you have a gun. You just hand them your license,
card,
registration, and your carry permit. Because when the officer's walking up to your car, his adrenaline may be up for whatever reason, because of something he just experienced or whatever, for whatever reason.
So basically, what do we have to? I'm sorry, Debbie. I'm just trying to get this in before we leave. But so basically, what do we have to have ready when you get the car, and do we get out of the car?
No, it used to be back in the old days. Like my grandfather's days, they'd get out of the car because if you walked back to it, the officer appreciated not having, because he was lazy or something. I don't know. We do that now. It puts us, right. I'll tell you what I do when I go out of town, and yes, if you ask my wife, there was a time that I was pulled over. But if I'm ever in that situation, which has happened in 22 years, I make sure that. This is me personally, and make sure that I have my license out, and because I don't need a concealed carry, but I have a badge and my police ID because I am carrying.
Right.
I have that ready to show them as well. And to her point, I don't have my gun out or anything. I just say, I am a police officer. I do have a weapon. Obviously, they see my hands. My hands are up on the steering wheel, and one of them's holding it.
That's a good thing, right?
And it's just for that same reason. And so, in this particular time, I was pulled over. It was late at night, about 1 o'clock in the morning. We were traveling, and because I wanted to make sure that the officer knew that I respected the fact. I felt bad that I had to get him out on the interstate, which is dangerous, right? I mean, all those, and then now he's wasted time on me. If he chooses to just give me a warning, all those things go in, and so I want to be very respectful of him. And it wasn't, hey, I'm a cop, you should let me go. It is, I'm going to respect the fact that even though we're in a small town,
that was his authority.
That was his authority at that moment.
And doesn't it get down to, and I know we're closing. Thank you so much for calling, Debbie. But doesn't it get down to? We just need to respect authority, and we've lost that in our country, haven't we? We have, and I think it goes back to. If as we see a moral decay, a moral decline in society, unfortunately, that may even filter into police. So let's challenge people and challenge our politicians, challenge everyone to make sure that we are living life correctly and get back into understanding that these are moral issues, these racial issues are moral issues, and certainly this is a great time for Christians to step up and say we're different. Thanks, Bill. Appreciate you so much, and we'll be praying for you guys. I'm in battle for his cause. Join me at 4.
The Spirit, 94.7 WFIA FM New Albany, Louisville, is a service of Salem Media Group, online at WFIAFM.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Greg Clugston in Philadelphia at the Democratic National Convention. There's turmoil and drama on this first day of the Democrats' gathering, something Clinton campaign and convention organizers had hoped to avoid. With the convention set to officially begin in the coming hour,
Let's go down to the convention floor here inside the Wells Fargo Center to correspondent Linda Kenyon.
Greg, in just a few minutes, the Democratic National Convention will be gavelled in, but Debbie Wasserman Schultz won't be doing the honors. The now outgoing chair of the Democratic Party is under fire following the leaked email controversy. Those emails of internal discussions portrayed Wasserman Schultz and the party as tipping the scales in favor of Hillary Clinton. Bernie Sanders supporters are incensed, and many Sanders delegates here are entering the convention very angry.
That's right. The weather isn't the only thing hot here in Philly. Earlier today, Bernie Sanders faced boos and angry chants from delegates who are upset that he's backing Hillary Clinton. All eyes will be on the convention stage tonight when Sanders is a featured speaker. I'm Greg Clugston in Philadelphia. Now with more news, here's Rich Thomason in Washington.
A California man sentenced to 15 years in prison and supervised release for life for attempting to support ISIS. Word today of the death of the co-author of the popular Left Behind series.
Dr. Tim LaHaye suffered a stroke over the weekend. He was 90 years old. LaHaye was a pastor and a well-known Christian author when he teamed up with Jerry Jenkins to write Left Behind, a series of fictional books that focused on the lives of people left on earth after the rapture. The series quickly caught the fancy of a lot of non-Christians and were eventually made into a series of movies. In all, LaHaye wrote more than 60 nonfiction books on topics ranging from Bible prophecy to family life.
That's correspondent Michael Harrington. Closing Wall Street, the Dow ends the day down 78 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
WFIA, The Spirit.
Thanks so much for joining me this hour of Just Ask Joyce. Appreciate you joining in the last hour. Those of you who are now going home, you just sit back and relax. But if you'd like to participate, it is a Q&A time for you today. It is Mentoring Monday. We had Officer Phil Russell at the beginning of the show talking about